invite you to please join us. And at the back of your program, you'll see all the hashtags, the people you need to tag, all that types of good stuff. The main hashtag for this weekend is C2CP, as you might have guessed. And so we would love for you to please join us and let you know that there's also an opportunity to become part of our blogger team. So if you didn't see in one of my many emails the note about the iReporters, at the end of this weekend we will be awarding 4 individuals the opportunity to join our blogger team for a year after the summit and to write about what's happening here on the ground in Detroit. So all of you are welcome to apply. You just have to email Annie a writing sample of some sort by 4:30 tomorrow. So if you have any questions, you can grab Annie and she'll be happy to answer those for you. The other thing I wanted to let you know is we are doing an Instagram contest. Who here uses Instagram? Oh, very good, awesome. So, take some photos. We are going to be doing a quick contest online, and when you submit your photo, you just have to tag Mobilize, where Mobilize.org is our Instagram handle, and once you do that, we'll be judging the photos, and then we'll be giving away prizes at the end of the weekend. So, stay tuned for that. The other quick thing I also wanted to let you know is we are filming the program this weekend, so if you want to be a celebrity, make sure you ask a question or something along those lines. But we will have microphones, so it's really important that if you are going to ask a speaker a question or something like that, that you wait and one of our staff members will bring you a microphone, and please speak into the microphone. Make sure you introduce yourself, say where you're from, and that way we can capture you on film. And finally, I'm excited to ask Brandy Keeler to please come to the stage, and she's going to introduce our speaker. Let's give Brandy a round of applause.
Hello, everybody. Let's just introduce Brandy Keeler. I'm excited to be here and share this weekend with you all. Hopefully, get a lot solved and build some powerful connections. So I'm up here to introduce Bill Cooley, who many of you probably know. He is a very creative thinker and he does a lot for our community. Bill Cooley opened Soul's Barbecue and Soul's Cook.
In Chicago, people were yelling at me out the window out of the neighborhood. So I wake up here and I remember building working on the abandoned building, and homeless folks are coming by and thanking us for doing the work that we're doing. So it's a completely different attitude here. There is a new possibility of doing things. Some people call it social entrepreneurship, whatever you want to call it, but for me it is this mentality of like all boats rise with the tide. We've clearly done things right in our past, but we've done a lot of things wrong in this nation and all over the world. And I do think this will be the first city to kind of teach others how to do it together versus watching a small group of people homogenize a city, displace people. So I'm really optimistic. And one of the things that we've tried to do is create this thing called Pony Run. And when I say we, it's truly we. Because if it were just me, it would be a mess. Just like if the barbecue restaurant were just me, I would be here and not enjoy the barbecue, trust me. But what ended up happening is I invited a bunch of folks in, and it was just an incredible process. I invited all my smart friends in, and I kind of threw out everything they said. Because they basically just said it should be what they were passionate about. If they were into music, it should be music. If they were into fashion, it should be fashion. If they were into whatever, it should be whatever. So what ended up happening is that we determined that just let people do what they want to do, let them be passionate and inspired, and don't tell them to fit into this box. And so when the hip hop dance studio came, the JIT crew came, the old tax base, improve density and public safety, create jobs, these sorts of things. Or you can be like some other individuals that hold on to properties that become derelict, fall apart, the broken windows theory. If you don't know the broken windows theory, watch Bill Strickland's TED Talk that he gives about the school he built in Pittsburgh. One of the worst schools in the state of Pennsylvania. These kids are going to jail, dropouts are just another statistic. Right down the block, he opens up a school, floor-to-ceiling glass, no security. They grow flowers right there on campus that they put in their hallways and in their classrooms, and all of a sudden these same kids from the same neighborhood are going to RISD, are going to Yale instead of prison. So I really believe that this landscape in Detroit is very similar. We've got, most of it owned by people that don't care about the success of the citizens of Detroit, are using it to exploit the landscape to make money. And it frustrates me greatly because I know the potential of the greatest resource in the city of Detroit, which is its citizens. I've seen it over and over again. When we turn the landscape back over to people, they're going to do productive things and we're all going to grow together. These same individuals would actually be wealthier if they took this approach. That's the most frustrating thing. So I'm not going to sit there and hate on these individuals. I actually want to try to bring them to the table and say, hey, what can we do? Why do you have an abandoned building when there's so much need for access to this space and there's all these participants ready to go? Because we all know, of course, the public safety risk and aspect of that as well. So, so this space that we've created, trying to unlock this, has really been about collaboration and diversity and collaboration. And so what diversity means to us, diversity is great when you're talking about we forget to listen, and specifically we forget to listen to the youth a lot. And one of my favorite tenants is Veronica Scott. So I get to work with all sorts of folks in the city, and to be able to work with Ms. Scott and see what she's done as a junior in college. She started her program. Most people, when she proposes as a class, I would say you'd be very wise to think that it would grow. She didn't, think to what it would become today. The fact that she, is changing how we think about how we can help homeless folks versus just handing them stuff. We do need to support the homeless while they learn to get jobs, but we can't just keep doing it the same way that we've been doing it. We need more Veronicas that find out systems how to actually change. And that answer, that solution was in a classroom at CCS. And it's something that we continue to marginalize, and we need to listen to and elevate and provide a voice. So the money, the dollar signs are always the first thing that come to mind. It's really easy to see that, but it's really about the connections that you can make in this room. It's really about failing, to be honest, because my successes have made me incredibly arrogant, and my failures are the only things that teach me what I need to know to hopefully not to make the painful ones again. I'd prefer to hear from you guys, so let's do some question and answers.
My question is, what was one of the challenges you faced when you're approaching your new starting up business?
Well, I truly do learn from my failures. So like when we started off, we weren't environmentalists, we weren't deconstructionists. We started getting wood out of our dumpster because we were throwing it away, and because we couldn't afford new material. And that's how we kind of learned about deconstruction, by accident. So, partnerships is truly important because you can kind of really kind of minimize a lot of these mistakes. So finding a good partnership and finding what is a right partnership to me is the hardest thing, because it's not just about being successful, because you can make all the money in the world, but without really having, a reason or a purpose to do it, it can really drain on you. It can tear you apart. So I'd rather fail with friends and with people I'm comfortable with than to be successful otherwise. So it's a really important lesson of how you can find the right people to do something with. And it's really also easy to work with people that are very similar. We tend to hang out with like-minded people, but the reality is that sometimes we need to get out of our comfort zone and find people that add something unique and different to what you're trying to do. So putting together that team can be it's so important, and it's fun, but it takes time.
My name is Marco Reynolds. I'm Youth Force President of Cody Academy of Public Leadership. My question is, what is the hardest thing about making, you was talking about partnerships, and what would be the hardest thing about making partnerships, and what tips would you give to the youth about, because I'm in an organization called Youth Worship now. We're looking for more partnerships because as many partnerships that you can get. What would be a tip that you would give to us to look for more partnerships with different organizations?
I think, it goes back to failure for me. Don't be afraid to fail. Just try again, keep knocking on doors, keep asking. Perseverance is really important. So none of this is easy, but it can be great, it's fun, I say that I play 100-hour week versus work 100-hour week. So, but the 100 hours are still there. So it really is, and at the same time, you got to find balance. You can't be just, I overdo it, and I'm trying to find a way that I can balance that load a little bit better. So when I'm working with my mom, I don't say some of the things I regret, like after she's gone. So I really want folks to, realize that one, it is going to take this persistence, and it's okay that it doesn't happen overnight. I was a janitor for the first year that I was in here. I just met people. I just kept over and over again, just say, hey, can I do this? Can I do this? Would you like to do this? And it gets depressing sometimes. Like it beats you down because there's a lot of no's. But you got to stay thick skin. You got to keep going.
You have everything. I know you said you don't care about failing, but there's so many diets, and I'd rather go to fast food. You named it Slows, and you did barbecue. What made you think that was going to work?
Well, we were going to do fine dining at first. That was the only thing I had experience. I had like 7 years experience in the restaurant industry. And as we were like kind of slowly, building out the space and whatnot, the partners, we were all just like, why are we doing fine dining? We want to appeal to, because the weirdest thing is like when people ask you what your demographic is, it's like, I'm serving food. Like, I'm only serving food to, like, 30-year-old women from, it doesn't make any sense to me. We wanted to be as appealing as possible. And everyone loves barbecue. Like, everybody's mom has the best mac and cheese. Everybody's, everybody does it in their backyard. It's a big family thing. It's a big comfort thing. So we were really excited. It was also kind of a trend at that point. There's this dude, Danny Meyer, that kind of elevated it to, it's called urban barbecue at that point, where, because it was a huge Southern tradition, obviously, and they all of a sudden, like, some of the top chefs started playing with it a little bit. It was kind of when comfort food was getting really big in that world, and so he opened up this place in New York called Blue Smoke, and we went there, and we started then going to and I love Danny Meyer's restaurant, no offense, but then we started going to Real Stuff down south, and touring all over, and it was just really inspiring, and really, it's one of the only American, indigenous culinary traditions, so there's not that many, so we were a huge fan of it right away, and fortunately, like I said, I was going to be in the kitchen, because I used to work in kitchens, so as soon as I started with our chef, who's classically trained student, we started cooking together, it was obvious that I needed to get out of this way.
Voice Executive Board, and I attend the DIT Youth Voice Chapter. And the question I want to ask you, how do you see youth being part of change in Detroit?
Well, I mean, to me, it's an all hands on deck situation. So the idea of a silver bullet, like coming in and fixing Detroit, not going to happen. They've tried that so many times. It's going to be a citizen, grassroots-led, slow, small change, and that's okay. And the second we, realize that collectively, and really start focusing on our neighborhoods and engaging everyone, the quicker we'll get there. But the idea of this quick turnaround, anyways, like, to become, whatever people used to say, Wicker Park or Williamsburg, whatever. That's just, we'll run into the same problems that we've always faced. And so I'm thankful that we're thoughtful and patient about this process. So hopefully, it's not just going to be the youth; it's going to be our seniors, it's going to be all of us working together to get there. But to say any community can't participate is foolish, because we all offer so much, and of course youth are discriminated against constantly. You guys, whatever. I was young once. I had ideas, and I don't see that much of a difference in myself then. And today I still make as many mistakes, and I still try as hard as I used to.
I'm Victoria Dove, and my company is Right Brain Connections. We've had a chance to talk before, so I'm just going to get right to it. It was mentioned that you assist entrepreneurs. How do you assist? That's the first question. Are you still willing to assist with all that you have on your plate? And can services be bartered between your team and the resources the entrepreneur has starting up? I know you guys at Pony Ride have the volunteer night on Wednesdays. So is that still going on, and
Yep.
do you still have needs?
Yeah, absolutely, thank you. Yeah, everyone's welcome to come by Pony Ride. Volunteer night's awesome. Also, we can squeeze in more tenants. We're always looking to continue to have folks working. And because the more folks that we tend to have in the space, the more dynamic the outputs are. In terms of, so in the past, I think the first major one that we did, we constantly, just like any entrepreneur in Detroit, are sitting down and advising folks. We all do this together every day of our lives, and it's rewarding to be able to do that, to spend time, because I'm not in the restaurant all that much. It's like 10 hours a week max. But my friend Charles reached out to us once and asked us to help him build a restaurant, and I went to his place and it was already built and done. This is Le Petit Zonk. It's a creperie. And Charles knew how to build a restaurant, he just didn't know how to do it legally. So we ended up, although he didn't have his tables, so we were able to build his tables for him. But we did his permits for him, and his construction documents and all that. And we were able to provide those services for him and get that done. And we were able to do that for Diet Astro as well, do a lot of work there, building them tables. The whole community did, though. It wasn't just us. We opened up Sugar House next door. He was over budget and behind schedule, but he took time out to go over and do the metal work for Dye to make sure he'd get open. So that's one of the things in Corktown that I've really seen. I think every neighborhood has some really unique traits that they've been successful in and have organically developed, and we need to share those between our neighborhoods to kind of diversify the things that we're doing. And I think Corktown does entrepreneurship fairly well. We really support each other. We make the joke that it takes a village to raise a coffee shop. Our bartenders were pouring the epoxy countertops. Everybody just jumped in because we all wanted good coffee, because we were all getting too tired, work too much. And then, so now it's through Pony Ride. So we offer, the thing is, we offer a subsidized rent at Pony Ride. It's because the buildings are cheap, and there's so many volunteer hours that have been put into it. Our rent's about 20 to 25 cents a square foot, and so that usually is about $1 a square foot. So there's a 75 to 80% rent reduction. So that's how I'm trying to help out now on a larger scale, and also provide a model for more people to do it. Because as we all know, when you look around Detroit, there's building after building that this is possible to do it. So we're trying to find the actual true break even. Operating as a nonprofit, what do we need just to pay the bills in order to turn that back to folks so they can incubate or accelerate the things that they are doing?
Schoolcraft College's a Scholar Honors student, and I'm sorry, but I'm a little unfamiliar. What is it exactly you do with Pony Ride or for Detroit? From what you're saying, you help with buildings, or?
Well, so Pony Ride has there's printing. There's dance, there's a recording studio, there's a production company, there's metalsmith, there's woodworking, there's a woman who makes coats for the homeless that become sleeping bags, there's multiple, and there's 10 sewers now and a staff of 4. There's these jeans were made there, there's a denim company there. Dirt Label's moving in, which you all should go to the pop-up shop. Dirt Label's doing a pop-up shop in Greektown today and tomorrow, really cool small business. Who else is there? What, we're doing a co-working space as well. That's about to get finished. That's been the last hang up, trying to get the funding to be able to finish that. But yeah, all sorts of things, I guess. I don't have a traditional job. It's hard to give myself a title. But mainly, the coolest thing about Pony Ride is I build things there. People do what makes Pony Ride brilliant is the community that's there that are doing things there. So we just turn it over to them, and then it's expensive. So we would really like to. I think if we had deeper pockets, you see some of these really cool projects that happen overnight, and it's exciting and awesome. But we struggle. It's kind of every paycheck I get, I kind of, all right, now I can replace those windows, and now we can put some lights in over here. So it's been that's been tough. We did get an awesome grant from Detroit Harmony for $10,000, so that put a lot of windows up, which was really great. But so that has been a struggle. Reaching the community has been tough too, because I would say the folks that were first coming to us were there were a lot of hipsters. Like every hipster knew about Pony Ride right away, so they were the first people to show up. And so that was necessary means. But we're trying to turn it over and see what happens if you can't afford traditional space. What happens when you're given access to it? So we wanted to make sure the people that were coming to us didn't just want to be.
And what I appreciate about your comment, Amy, too, is that what art also does, it not only helps us understand our history, but it helps us frame our future. So that's why it's so important that artists are at the table when we start talking about how we reinvent ourselves and how we reemerge, because they carry the story fundamentally of the community.
And not just that, but also about how we want to see the community. And I think that's really important as well.
How the community sees themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll just jump in and echo one more thing about the millennial and focusing on the millennial generation, because I've noticed that I've been living downtown for just about 2.5 years, and it's been pretty much across the board that this whole kind of re-energizing and redeveloping of the city as a mission is all focused on the millennial generation, because that's where the future is. And so whether it comes from the auto industries trying to figure out how to attract millennials to work at GM or Ford because they've gotten bored with what they think of GM corporate culture, or if it's it could be. I mean, and GM's coming back and hiring a lot more people now, and they're trying to get young people excited about it. And then you have people in the city trying to figure out, how do we get more young people to stay in Detroit, not to, when they graduate from Wayne State or from Michigan, what you were alluding to, how do we get them to stay here? And so that means that everyone has a pretty important role to play and has a voice, because the 50-year-olds don't really know the answer to those questions. They're kind of like asking us to figure out what we want in order to hang around, in order to be engaged in the community. And so I'd say that's a huge theme of everything that's going on. When you're building for the future, there's a lot of attention paid to millennials, to the young generation, and so it's a good time to be young in Detroit, I think.
Yeah, and what your comment makes me think of too, to your point about targeting millennials, is how important it is though to keep these conversations connected to people who also have the historical perspective, because it's really important as the community moves forward, there's space for all different types of viewpoints and experiences and backgrounds to push the agenda and the conversation forward. And so with that, I wanted to move into our next question. Thank you so much. So we know that entrepreneurship and private sector investments matter. Entrepreneurship focused on social good and private sector investments that spur revitalization are both essential to shaping a community's revitalization efforts. With this frame in mind, the first question is for Jake Cohen. Jake, how do venture capitalists catalyze business growth, and can you speak to specific strategies that you are using to target your investments toward rebuilding Detroit?
So just a quick background on what we do as venture capitalists, to use that word, is we're investing in really early stage, really risky startups. That's the idea. And the risk means that there's a chance for a big reward, is the idea. So if you invest really early and it's in a company that hasn't yet developed their product or taking their product to market, you don't really know what's going to come from it. But if a couple of these companies pick up and take off, they could grow really fast and really big. And some people think of companies like Groupon in Chicago that famously grew from nothing to billion-dollar company in only a couple of years. And those guys are from Michigan, and they grew up here, and they went to University of Michigan. They took off and went to Chicago, and now they've built a pretty cool startup ecosystem in Chicago. And so our goal at Detroit Venture Partners is really just to give entrepreneurs an opportunity to grow their businesses in Detroit, so they don't feel like they need to go to another city. And that's the main role that we play. I think that we're investing in 6 to 10 companies a year, and we're trying to bring a lot of hands-on support and bring first customers from the community, whether it's Quicken Loans or ePrize or Fathead or some other companies that we're personally connected to, but beyond that, GM and CompuWare and whoever else is downtown. And so our goal is give money to entrepreneurs, let them try to grow their businesses here in Detroit, and provide exciting jobs for people who want to stay in Detroit and build careers here. And so it's it's a long road ahead of us, but we're just getting started. We're 2 years into our fund, and we've invested in 17 companies, and we're just going to keep going.
Answer the question.
Well, there's probably a couple questions embedded in that, but the simple way is to say that we've got about of those companies, we probably have 70 or 80 people working downtown now that are now living downtown, working down. A lot of them are living downtown, not all of them, but all the people that I work with in the Madison building over by Comerica Park, I'd say the majority of them, if they didn't already have a family somewhere else, picked themselves up and moved downtown and are living downtown. So I think that's important. I think that the fact that they're living downtown means that they're engaged in local politics, and I think that's really important. And they're working in the community, and so I think it's we're doing our part. I think to create exciting jobs downtown and get people engaged in the city and thinking about issues that affect Detroiters as opposed to wherever it is that they're moving from or 6 months ago.
That's really great. Creating jobs and community engagement. Thank you. So our next question is for Amy. Amy, what role do social entrepreneurs and artists play in Detroit's revitalization efforts? And how has Detroit Soup fostered community engagement and philanthropic investment?
I think I'm going to ask the last question prior to the former question.
That
So what have people I want to acknowledge you in the room. Every one of you have an idea. Every one of you have been in Detroit. Everyone have probably drove down a street and realized wow, something could happen at this corner. And what Detroit Soup has been able to do is, if you're not familiar with the soup concept, it's a monthly dinner. Aaron, hi, can you raise your hand? Aaron's one of my wonderful, wonderful interns that I couldn't do soup without, so I want to acknowledge him in the room as well. And so we work on a project, so it's $5, and you get soup, salad, bread, and a vote. And what you're voting on is 4 creative projects from people all over the city with any idea that wants to make the city better. And now most of you have been through a philosophy class to know that probably everyone around your table right now have a different idea of what better looks like. And so for us, it's a chance for 4 creative entrepreneurs, whether it be a small business, an artist, a person who's working on an urban farm, someone who's working in technology or education, coming with an idea that would say, hey, this is going to make my neighborhood, my block, my 0.001 square mile a little better. And you get a chance to talk about what that better looks like at the table that you're sitting at. And so for the 3 years, 3 years plus that we've been doing it, we've watched people exchange ideas, exchange resources, exchange collaboration efforts. People have gotten jobs, a couple have gotten married. But isn't that what community is like, right? You live in a community because you wouldn't marry somebody across the world to be married across the world. You marry somebody because you want to be in the city, collaborating, communicating, engaging together.